following podcast may contain some adult language. You've been warned.
Those of you who got an invite, welcome to Nerd Prom.
No matter where in the world you are, we're all nerds! International. With the hyphen.
Welcome to Finding the Narrative, a Genesys RPG podcast. This is a show dedicated to the Genesys role-playing system from Fantasy Flight Games, a show in which we, your hosts, discuss all things Genesys from both the player's and a GM's perspective. I am Tony Fanning, and with me, as always, are my good friends and co-hosts, both of them this time, Chris Holmes and Stefan Dragonspawn. Stefan, how are you?
I'm good. I'm back from Cuba. Now I'm exiled for the good of the realm. And so until the 29th, and I go back to work. And we'll see. Their work is supposed to send some of us working from home. We'll see if that happens for me with my wonderful internet. We'll check that out. Other than that, I'm doing good. How are you? How about you, Chris?
Oh, I'm doing good. I am doing good. Had my face-to-face games this week online. So, good thing I've been playing online games with you fuckers for the last few years, so I can spin them up on it. Yeah, and last night ended the Shard of Yavin, which was pretty damn fun. That was the Jewel of Yavin reskinned into 5th edition D&D in Eberron. And it was a lot of fun, man. Pretty fun. So, how about you, Tony? How you doing?
Didn't have my face-to-face game this week because, well, you know, the world is on hold.
Yep.
So, I haven't played anything. I worked a shitload of hours. I don't know if you know, but I work in one of those essential industries that people talk about. And our plant, they decided, we need to ramp up production because everybody's buying everything off the shelves. So I did like 29 hours overtime this week, something like that.
Money. There you
go.
Ching.
Tony's a tired boy, but I did get time to write show notes.
Yeah, you did. That's why we're here. Right.
So I didn't get any special messages or anything from our listeners this week. But like I said, I did write the show notes up, and we're going to go over talents for our setting, Tales of the Epsilon Eclipse. And so today's episode, before we go on to the next section, I wanted to say is episode 54, Tales of the Epsilon Eclipse, a round of talents on the house.
Nice. I always love your titles for our episodes, because that's like a roundhouse of talents, or that's a round of talents on the house, because we're in a bar setting, and you could read those so many different ways. It's so deep.
I try.
It's special.
Words are hard, but I do well with them.
When you do get them, put them together, they're special, Tony.
Thank you, brother.
All right, let's go.
Yeah, Stefan's got some signal to boost. Let's do that.
All right. All right. Well, hey, welcome to Boosting the Signal. This is where Stefan shares all the hot and steamy news of Genesys off the wire and reviews a project from the Foundry, or take it on. Stefan, what you got?
All right, well, thank you, Chris. My sexy Chris, always a great intro. Today will be a little different because, the entire world has gone sideways. So instead of just focusing on new products, there are a few new products out there, but I would just want to mention that the fabulous people who have made some products available on the Foundry recently, due to what's happening, have decided to either lower their prices, make them pay what you want, or bundle them together so that it's almost the same as lowering the price sometimes. People like Scott W., Darren West, and Chris Markham, and I think a few others, I think 404 Games, who publish Starcana, have also did some specials recently. So, yes, go ahead.
You said Scott W. You meant Scott Zumwalt?
Scott Zumwalt, yes.
Okay.
Darren West. Sure. Yeah, Scott W. is someone else entirely. Just my notes had Scott Z and then Darren W.
What's Z? So. Precious? Oh, that's the Canadian Z. That's right.
Exactly. The proper way to pronounce it. Anyway, so they've made their things lower priced or changed the prices to make them more available, because now, since a lot of people have to spend more time at home, maybe something to do, something to read at the very least, and once you're done reading them, you can include them in your game or game with them. If it's a Starcana system or setting, you can do that. So go check them out. If you didn't before, pick them up and enjoy. And a quick mention, though, that Chris Markham did come up with at least treasures for Tyranoth and Ministries of Tyranoth, which covers various gods. So, in addition to just having Kelos and Nodros mentioned in the main book, this can maybe help out, flesh out some of the other possible divinities.
Cool.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I went out and picked up a couple things I hadn't gotten yet, just because they were nice and cheap, and also helps people out in these trying economic times, and just go out there, buy something, put some money in their pockets.
Yep. Well, there you go. Thank you, Tony and Chris. All right, well, welcome to our next segment. The one where Chris finds something that's almost as cool as he is, that's free on the web, and talks to us about it. His 50 pieces of awesome. What have you got for us today, Chris?
Well, I have to thank my buddy Killzak, who, if everybody remembers Killzak, he one-shotted that ancient red dragon that you can do in Genesys, by the way. Ha! And
for now.
He found millions of pieces of awesome, so gave them to us. So, gonna dovetail on kind of what Stefan was talking about in the last segment.
Are those like Bitcoins?
No, pieces of awesome are more awesome than that. This segment goes out to all of you gamers out there playing games while you're sequestered in your homes, and again during these trying times during the pandemic, or if you actually have played Pandemic in the last week, like I did with my youngest daughter, Fallon. We played it on epic mode, where we have to put all 6 epidemics in the game, and we won, which was great. But and to all of you publishers out there on DriveThruRPG that are making your products free or pay what you want so people can just go get stuff and start playing more games. I downloaded Loki's battle maps for the virtual tabletops. Nice little collection. Playing Vampire or Werewolf the Apocalypse 20th Anniversary Edition with Tony here on Saturdays. World of Darkness is giving away that PDF for free. Green Ronin is giving away their Fantasy Age Basic rulebook PDF for free. I haven't tried that system yet, that Fantasy Age system.
I just got it because it was free and looked at it and it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool. And then, I've been playing D&D as well, and using D&D Beyond, and they typically only allow you to share, so you could buy like their books, and you could share them and create up to like 3 campaigns and share the content with your players. But till the end of May, they're allowing you to share it up to 5 campaigns. So that's pretty cool. So, nice. And this is just what I saw like earlier this week. Maybe, hopefully more companies are getting on the bandwagon, and I'm hoping this will bring more people into gaming. Because
go ahead. I know a lot of people have been asking about virtual tabletops all over the internet, on various forums, and MeWe, Facebook, on Twitter. A lot of gamers who don't normally play. Yeah. And I know some of the virtual tabletops that have pay prices, like Fantasy Grounds. They released to Fantasy Grounds Unity for free this week for beta. Cool. If you want to try that out. I wanted to add that there because Fantasy Grounds is great. It's the one we use. It's a great virtual tabletop. It's great for Genesys. The mods that were done for it out there, and the work that Chris and our friend Jimmy Parton have put into it.
Roll20. Actually, I've been playing around with Roll20 this week as well, and what they've done is, or somebody's integrated D&D Beyond character sheet. You can have that up in D&D Beyond and roll your dice from that in using the API to roll the dice inside of Roll20. And
that's nice.
That's pretty slick. You need the Beyond 20 extension for Chrome. I think they have one for Firefox as well. But any of you that are playing, that have been doing like the D&D Beyond stuff, and you're at home and you don't know what to do face to face, get on Roll20 and do it. Start playing it because it's free. It's pretty easy to set stuff up. Just got to take some time to figure it out. Not much of a learning curve, but kudos to that.
Awesome.
So we don't just give out kudos on this.
No. So thanks to Killzak and his one-shot, we've got lots of pieces of awesome to give out to everyone. Loki, the World of Darkness people, the Green Ronin, D&D, and everyone else who's doing all this great stuff to play games and allowing games to be more available and easier to access. 50 pieces of awesome to each and one of you.
Yay!
Yay! Shling, shling, shling. It's like Mardi Gras, like we're on a float handing out pieces of awesome all over the place.
There you go.
Just show us your boobs, show us your butt.
All right, well, let's go on to the next segment. How about that? Get into the meat of the show. All right, everybody. Welcome to the Books of Genesys. Dude, you're a little slow. We so did not harmonize. We did not. But rounds are simultaneous, aren't they? Anyways,
we'll start one a little bit after you.
Okay. One of those. That's right. Yes. That's right.
Next time, maybe we'll get synchronized.
There we go.
I'm not going to direct your choir. I'm just going to sit back and laugh at you both every time.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. Well, hey, open up your core rulebook, everybody, to page 194. Where we're going to kind of review the Creating the Talents section. Going to give it a quick little overview, I believe. And then we're going to go over the list of, some of our talents we grabbed from the core book. And we're going to introduce new talents that we have created, that each of us have created for Tales of the Epsilon Eclipse. And going to try and balance them on the air. And discuss them and kind of do a little brainstorming and let you guys know kind of our process and hear our process when we're going over these things, so you guys can create your own for your own settings. So who wants to kick this puppy and get her started?
I just want to say that by the end of this segment, you'll all be experts or talented experts at creating talents.
Oh, he's trying to put those. You're a punny guy, man. You're a punny guy.
All right.
Try.
So I suppose I will kick this off. So when we went over this the very first time, we talked about creating talents and what it means to create a talent. Mm-hmm. And first of all, if you're going to create a talent, you need a talent that's going to fit a niche, whatever you want to pronounce it, that is not already filled or is specific to your setting.
Right.
And so you need to ask yourself a few questions when you start off making this talent. The very first question you ask yourself is, do you want it to have a mechanical or narrative effect? And so if it's just a narrative talent, like, for instance, or a mechanical talent like Knack for it, just removes a couple setback die from the die roll. That's mechanics. It's purely, there's no needed narrative description for it. On the other hand, you've got How Convenient, which has a purely narrative effect, and it changes the ongoing story, but doesn't interact directly with the game mechanics. So those are your two main focuses for a talent. I think most of the ones that we've done for our setting are mechanical ones, because I think the narrative ones kind of present themselves as you're fleshing out your setting more. As we get more and more into the fluff of our setting, those narrative talents might pop up.
Yeah.
And that's the way I noticed.
I could see us creating some narrative talents for the bar setting, right? I mean, while we're in there, and
And honestly, from when we did the ones for Primordial Machina, that was the way it came out, is that we didn't do any narrative talents when we started out. They were all mechanical. And then we started filling in the lore for it, and all of a sudden, pop, here goes a narrative talent. I think we wrote 2 eventually. But
in a way, I think narrative talents are more inclined to be more like, almost like setting specific, it seems like. Whereas mechanics, it affects the mechanics. It's easier, I guess, to think about a new talent. Like, how can I affect the mechanics? Make this easier for a character. That's what a talent should help.
Right.
Should be. Making things a little easier, a bonus, or removing difficulty, or making something more difficult for your opponent. Whereas narrative, you almost, if it's not setting specific, or at least a genre specific, like some talents might be more appropriate for a sci-fi setting, some for fantasy or intrigue or horror.
Yep.
Right on.
No, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I want to add this little caveat, because it was something that we learned from our interview with Keith Capel, and that is also look if you can't just reskin one of the existing talents before you write your talent. Yeah. Before you start writing one new one from scratch. Look to see if there's one out there that, hey, you know what? If I just change this name and rechange this wording and or change the skill that it affects, bam, I've got this cool new talent that didn't take a whole lot of effort to do.
Actually, I have an example of that, to be honest with you. The one that I was thinking of was from Realms of Tiernoth. Oh, crap, I didn't put a page number on it. Damn it. It's called Justice of the Citadel. And it is a Tier 3 talent, I believe. Let me look for it just real quick. And it's just a matter of renaming it to Justice of the Axe and Saw, maybe. So here you go. Justice of the Citadel. It is on page 90. It's a Tier 3. It's an active. So to activate it, it's an incidental to activate it. And it's not ranked, but once per round on your character's turn, your character may suffer 3 strain to use this talent to add damage equal to their ranks in discipline to 1 hit of a successful melee attack. Now, we could just totally rename that to Justice of the Axe and Saw.
And change it from discipline to mental discipline.
There you go. Exactly.
Well, then you don't have to worry about, is it properly ranked? It's already, Tier 3, everything is worked out. Change the name, and it's appropriate for any kind of almost like fighting order, religious order, whatever you want to call it.
Exactly. So there's an example of that.
So what's on page 184, what's the next question that we ask ourselves? Stefan?
Next one up is also, which character does this talent affect? Creating a new one. There's a character himself, who took the talent? Is it an opponent or an ally?
Yep.
That'll depend on what kind of talent is it. If it's harmful or beneficial. Of course, usually. If it's harmful, usually you want to It'll target enemies, obviously.
Right. And then the next thing you want to ask yourself is, what kind of encounter? Do you want it to affect your character or an enemy in combat, or in a social encounter, or
in a
exploration,
mentalism
encounter? Yes, while you're slicing somebody's brain.
Yes,
right.
Or just role-playing encounters.
Right. Or maybe it could be used in multiple encounters, like something like what was it? Knack for It. You could pretty much use it in multiple encounters, even though you can't use it for combat-based skills, but you could still use it in combat.
Still can roll non-combat skills in combat.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's always possible. Stealth, for example.
Mm.
You know?
Skullduggery mechanics.
Exactly. What's next here, Tony?
So you get now into that stat block for the talent, and you've got the two major questions there. And the first one is the talent active or passive? And that one has a lot of drop downs to it. If it's active, how long does it take to use? You've got to determine whether it's a maneuver or an action or an incidental. Mm-hmm. If it's passive, it's just done. It's over with.
It's always on, basically. Right?
And if it's active, there's also usually a cost involved. So those kind of all tie together, and those costs can include time, mm-hmm. like if it's only usable once per encounter, or if it's usable once per session.
Yep.
Strain, usually a great mechanic to use for enacting talents. A lot of your combat talents and social talents use strain.
Yeah, dodge, for example, I think.
And story points, which those are usually those high tier 4, tier 5, that really do something game breaking or game changing. Mm-hmm. Even tier 3, that have a story point cost involved.
Yep. Yeah. Pretty special.
Stefan, what's the other thing that you have to?
Well, then, to still tied in with the active or passive, especially active, if the talent is active, how long does it take to use? So is it an action requiring you to spend one of your character's actions? Does he just require a maneuver, something fairly easy, a bit like drawing a weapon or putting away a weapon, for example? That usually takes a maneuver. Or if it's just incidental, just like doesn't really take that much time, but it's still maybe part of the action.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the next main question you have to ask yourself is what tier does the talent belong in? And that one's tricksy, but we have really good guidelines here on page 196 for them.
Chris, sorry, before you go, I just remembered, as part of the what I was talking about, also sometimes some talents like dodge and others maybe can be used on another person's turn, another character's turn.
Oh,
that also out of turn incidentals, yes.
Yeah, the out of turn incident like dodge. So you use it in reaction, kind of, to the opponent's action. In this case, let's say an attack. So you can try to reduce the damage or the effect of their action on you.
Good call to bring that up. And another thing that they don't bring up in these 3 pages here, that's something you've got to decide before you decide the tier, is it ranked?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because ranked talents are then ones that they can add on to later and take again and again and again. And that's an important question. Then determining what tier to put it at, because if it's one of those, ranked, but you want it to be rarer, you want to put it in a higher tier. But we'll get into that.
To start with, yeah.
So who wants to do tier 1?
I'll take it.
Okay.
So tier one are your really simple talents, small effects like grit, toughened. Those are at tier 1, where they add, you add 1 to your strain or 2 to your wounds, or those kinds of things. They have minor effects. They actually let you remove a setback die or add a boost die. Basically, only taking like a basic action economy. It doesn't let you do things way out of control here. So, probably without even spending a maneuver, you could use these talents, doing a lot of those at Tier 1. So, how about Tier 2?
Tier 2, I'll take it. Tier 2 is where things get a little bit more interesting as opposed to Tier 1, which you can customize your character a little bit. This one, the character now can change a few more things in an encounter. They include like ranked defensive talents, things that allow you to, as an example, add more skills as career skills, for example, adventurer, and other things. You change a little bit other rule aspects of rules. Can provide some minor bonuses, usually adding either advantage or a boost dice to your check.
Cool.
I like this last paragraph in Tier 2 before I go on to Tier 3. Overall, Tier 2 is a good place to add ranked talents that are useful enough that you want a lot of characters to take them, but they're not auto-include. So if you're going to start a ranked talent that's going to be auto-include, like Toughened and Grit, those are your Tier 1s. But this is kind of like, well, a lot of people will want to take this. Let me slide it in there in Tier 2. All right, Tier 3 is a good place to put talents that can really change the way the game is played. And this is where they start to change the game mechanic, or the way it's run. You've got to put a lot of XP to get there. So Tier 3 is where they start to pay off really well. These talents tend to be a lot of your more defensive and offensive talents, like dodge, parry. And they usually have upgrading the difficulty of checks, or upgrading your check, or add more damage to a combat check. They also can be very potent buffs, giving your characters or your friends extra maneuvers. And this is where improved versions of a lot of other talents will sit, is right in Tier 3. Any talent that, and it says in the last paragraph of it, and this is key, any talent that lets a player re-roll a check will be a Tier 3 talent. Or a talent that lets a player fundamentally alter the ongoing encounter, the rest of the encounter. If it's an encounter-affecting ability, then this will probably be the place for it. And also, it's a place for pet-type talents, like a familiar or a drone talents. That's where they start out at.
Yep.
How about Tier 4?
Well, Tier 4 here this is where you're kind of getting into the game-breaking talents, where they really alter the way the game might be going. There's one example here, a talent that lets you choose a critical injury when your character inflicts one. There's one you can select. So you roll your critical injury. I can't remember what the name of the talent is, but then you select anywhere in that tier that you just rolled in to select whatever talent. And they actually heavily alter the action economy of the game too. Let you do something you wouldn't normally require an action as a maneuver. If it normally requires an action to do, this is where you would allow it to do as a maneuver. Potentially
this
3
is where
times.
This is where you get into people rolling the dice twice in their turn.
Exactly, and I have an example of a talent from Realms of Tiernoth. It's called Unrelenting, Tier 4. Active, it's an incidental. It's not ranked, obviously, but once per round, after resolving a successful brawl, melee light, or melee heavy combat check, your character can spend 4 strain to use this talent to make an additional melee attack as an incidental against the same target. Increasing the difficulty by 1 if it uses a second weapon, or by 2 if you're using the same weapon. I mean, that is huge, especially if you have somebody who's one-shotting a dragon
Shush.
Right?
Shut your mouth.
Attack him again. Or didn't quite one-shot that dragon. Let him do it again. But yeah, so that's huge, man. That's kind of a neat talent. One of these days I'll get it for one of my characters, I think. So,
all right, tier 5, Stefan. What you got?
No, tier 5 is where things get really cool. Your epic level, there's a few that, of course, those are the things that can really change your character sheet, or just sometimes a storyline, or how tough your character is. Strangely enough, none of them are ranked. But
I wonder why that
because
is.
they can't get any higher. Yeah,
exactly.
But that doesn't mean you can't take the same one more than once. Occasionally,
Dedication's ranked.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
Yep. Well,
that's maybe the only one. But yeah, you can take it multiple times. Master is not ranked, but that one is also pretty good. Every time you pick it, you choose one skill, and you can reduce the difficulty by 2. And it's not limited to just non-combat or non-arcane skill. You can include combat skills and
wait a second.
Magic skills.
Is that a minimum? Even so, I can make a melee attack with a simple difficulty, meaning no difficulty dice.
No, I mean minimum is easy though. It'll still have a
but it's
He
still
just
easy.
didn't read that part. Ha ha!
I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't.
I was
caught.
testing you. So there.
I wasn't on the page. I didn't see it.
Oh yeah. So these are where you put the talents that are powerful, and it'll be a game changer when they are used. But characters will be satisfied. One that I like is the Indomitable one. Spend a story point to use this talent when your character is about to be incapacitated, but he's not incapacitated until the end of his next turn. So you can imagine, character Conan the Barbarian, he's being beaten and bruised and cut. It's like, no, I'm not dead yet. He stays up.
There we go.
I do the again, they always put a nice little nugget in that last paragraph, and in here it's, remember, your game doesn't need to have a lot of tier 5 talents. Since all ranked talents increase their tier every time you purchase them, eventually all those lower ranked talents become tier 5 talents.
Exactly. But there is a tier 5 talent you really need to have in your game. And you know what one that is, right, Tony? Come on, buddy. Begins with a Z, ends with Ellis Fire.
GM will love it.
Yes, the GM will love it.
If you're using magic in a setting, grab that from Terranov.
No, even if I had I was just playing a character that uses a lot of strain. Because when you have those parry talents and dodge talents, you're going to want Zealous Fire, because every time your game master spends a story point, your character heals 2 strain.
That's it.
So that doesn't suck.
Action.
And then when you have a game master like Tony, who flips all 6 and fucks all of our characters over at the same time. Well, yes, exactly. You have. And we love it when you do it, because we're like, oh no, we're totally screwed, because he's upgrading all of our checks. That's 12 strain there, man. Anyways, that's cool.
All right. So we've gone over creating the talents. Now, when you're making a setting, you got to do one other thing. And that is, you've got to take all the existing talents that are out there for it, and you can include. We haven't even done any of that yet. You can include works by people on the Foundry if you want to. Oh, yeah. Just make sure you give them credit when you and maybe if you're doing this for the Foundry, you should definitely get their permission before you do it.
Yes.
But if you're doing this as just a setting for your home group, or if you're doing it as a setting to give out to everyone for free, give them credit. Say, hey, this dude made this talent, and here it is. It's in this product, and it's on Drive-Thru RPG.
Yeah.
But
just reach out to them if you want to use their talents, and say, hey, these talents are pretty cool. They'll work in my game. Do you mind if I include it? And these guys that we've talked with and communicated with, they're very cool, very humbled by asking, and that
very reachable.
Very reachable, too. Yeah.
Yes.
They're all active on the community forums, and you can talk to them on any of those social platforms. But getting away from what we did here, Chris, you did a knockdown, drag out, bang up job on this.
Thanks, bud.
Getting our list of talents from the Realms of Terranoth, the core rulebook, the expanded player's guide, even though you didn't get any from there,
but
you
I did
still
look.
looked at them all.
Still looked at them, right.
And Shadow of the Beanstalk. And so we're going to kind of just go over as an overview. We don't have to go through all of them.
Right.
But we did this what did I call it when I made that mock-up cover for it? I called it a dimensional fantasy. I think I called it dimensional fantasy setting. Yes. So it's a science fantasy setting.
Right.
So in the core rulebook, each talent tells you, hey, this can be used in this type of setting and this type of setting. Use those guidelines. That's what Chris did here. So, like from the core rulebook, he's grabbed a bunch of them.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what I did. My process with this, when I was thinking of it, I'm like, holy crap! I've got all these books to go through. So many freaking talents. I started with Tiernoth, Realms of Tiernoth. Okay, because Realms of Tiernoth has all of the core talents for fantasy brought in. So I'm like, might not have to look at the core book because there they are. So I went through all of them and tried to cut out some. I knew we weren't going to be using Chill of Nordros, those setting specific ones, right? Knew we weren't going to do anything with verse or rune. So you can knock out a lot of those. Then I went over to the Shadows of the Beanstalk, and I might have actually texted Tony or you guys in the middle of it going, hey, are we going to bring in any of the hacking talents? Are those appropriate? And then Stefan or one of you guys were mentioning, well, we're going to be using those, reskinning those for the mental hacking. I'm like, all right, cool. So I skipped those. And again, a bunch of core talents were in there. And then I went through them and marked some that were appropriate and some that I had some questions on too. So, and then from there, I was thinking, well, let's try the expanded player's guide. And those were all magic related, and I couldn't think of how to move those and reskin some of them to our mental, our psionics based. Maybe the one where you're using a spell component. I don't know about that, but where you add a boost die spell component, maybe you inject something before you do your psionic melding. I don't know, something like that. But anyways,
there was actually one that I looked at, or two, I think, that I looked at that I thought we could add.
Cool.
Mainly because they added an aspect to psionics that were in psionics before, in my mind.
Okay. Pun intended? Psionics that were in your mind?
Yeah. And it's reskinning Flicker Step.
Really?
For psionics instead of Arcana. So when your character casts a spell using, we would say, psionics skill, they may use this talent to spend 3 advantage or a triumph to instantly vanish and reappear at any location within long range. So it kind of allows you to blink like a teleport.
Well, that doesn't suck. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that I thought was a neat, or we could, even if we didn't have that, if we had teleportation talent, which is if your character has at least one rank in this case, psionics, once per session, your character may use this talent to make a daunting psionics check, and if they succeed, they instantly vanish and reappear at another location in the world they already know about. Now, the teleportation improved then would come along with that, and that allows them to change realms to another world.
Ooh.
Since this is a dimensional hopping game, I thought about including those 3 talents.
Those are
kind of fun.
Those are slick. Those would be fun, and they would definitely add something to our setting here for sure.
Yeah, they would definitely fit since they are different worlds, different realms.
You know what? I'll make a note to add those then to our list. I'll add those to our list.
Okay.
I'm not sure about component casting. There's not much components usually in.
Exactly. I wasn't.
But with some imagination instead of components, sometimes you have someone tries to focus, trying to maybe locate someone mentally. Well, if they have a lock of hair, something that belongs to them, when you see psychics, give me something that belonged to this person, a cherished teddy bear, a book that they liked. Oh yes, I'm getting a mental reading. This person was distraught when they disappeared. That could come into
might
play.
come
Maybe.
into play with mentalism for sure.
We could call it something like psionic focus.
Yeah.
Something, maybe.
Yeah. Well, we'll look into that. Yeah,
but
I'll make a note of that too.
Okay, and then one last one I just noticed. I had thought about the other ones earlier, but this one I just noticed. Masterful casting, page 97. It's a tier 4 talent.
Mm-hmm.
It's active incidental, not ranked. When your character casts a spell, in this case psionics, they may use this talent to spend a triumph to trigger up to 3 different qualities or spell effects instead of 1. These qualities or spell effects must be ones that require advantage or a triumph to activate.
Cool.
Right. Such as, auto fire, perhaps, or burn, or snare, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. There is another one because I did include animal companion. Dire animal companion makes sense too. Man, I was up really late. I missed a few of these. These do make sense.
All right, so we'll be adding.
We'll be adding more.
Sounds good. Let's get into what we've got, though. So you've done a real good job.
Thanks, buddy.
Yep.
And,
very good. Lots of work.
I think we've got some highlighted ones that we want to bring out. So you brought up the talents from Shadow of the Beanstalk, and we're not going to go into them all, but there's a bunch of talents in Shadow of the Beanstalk that affect the favor mechanic.
Yes.
And one of the things that we had talked about when we were brainstorming this setting is that we wanted to bring over the obligation mechanic from Star Wars Edge of the Empire and kind of reskin it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know which one of you came up with the name for it, but I think it was Chris.
Bar tabs? Yeah,
calling it the bar tab. And that was perfect. And so we're going to kind of reskin those talents. And we didn't do so for this session because eventually we're going to get into, since not everybody is, all of our Genesis listeners, not all of them have played Edge of the Empire. We're going to have to explain how obligation works and how the bar tab is going to work. Mm-hmm. So we're going to lump all those talents into that show.
Yep. So let me see. What is the other talents that I? Oh, there was Wraithbane. Yep. I asked, "Are we going to be doing undead?" And you're like, "Oh, why wouldn't we?" I'm like, "All right, it's in." There's a good one. What was the other one that I had? Oh, that's right, Justice of the Citadel from Realms of Tyranoth.
And you already talked about that. Renaming it to Justice of the Axe and Saw.
Exactly. Yep. Which in our previous segment we did that. That was probably about it, right? I know I mentioned like you owe me one. Can we link it to bar tab? Mm-hmm. But we could talk about that in our bar tab episode. Yep. But those were really my only questions as I went through any of these. Did you guys have any thoughts or comments? Okay.
I think we've discussed it. Stefan, you got anything?
Yeah.
Just going back to Wraithbane, maybe if they're not undead, we can revisit this, of course, in more detail. But Wraithbane, instead of calling them undead, they could be just reanimated, using weird tech, psionic tech. They reanimate the corpses. Maybe some of our bad guys. Use that. That could be something to bring up.
Yeah, we could totally call it reanimated because we're going to have multiple ways of doing that.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, calling it instead of Wraithbane, Corpsebane, or whatever.
Cool.
Nope.
Yeah, that works.
Nope.
We can even have one that's a bane for those that are that have psionics. Right?
Yeah,
I mean, we're gonna
kind
have
of Psi Hunter. Or...
Like a Psi Hunter. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Psi Hunter.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes, in other settings, you've got Witch Hunters and Mage Hunters, whatever you want to call them. Sometimes, why not? Rogue. There might be rogue psionics that, need to be brought back or put down or...
Yeah, there you go. All right, I made a note of that. Sweet. Well then, hey, I'm thinking everybody who's listening to this is on the edge of their seat, awaiting what new talents we've got.
Right? Yes.
Who wants to start?
Let's do them.
They're on pins and needles.
Pins and needles. So I just have two I only did two. You guys did all these other ones, which are great, by the way. These are pretty awesome.
Well, you did all the lists, so if you just did a few new talents, that's fine. You did a lot of other heavy lifting, so that's why you've got the big arms.
All right.
Do you want to read yours, Stefan, and I'll read mine, or what?
Yeah, I'm more familiar with them, I guess, so.
Go for it.
Okay.
So we got Tier 1. What do we have for Tier 1, guys?
Tier 1. So I was tasked more with a focus of basically this mind hacking kind of talents. Mm-hmm. So that, of course, focused my mind, yes, I was focused, on the Shadow of the Beanstalk. So the talents that are there, we said it before, we were reskinning the hacking rules to mind hacking. So a lot of the talents that affect hacking and computer programs, icebreakers, we just tweaked for these mental constructs, mental armaments, and mental fortifications. So the first one I got was a Tier 1 talent called Custom Construct instead of Custom Code. So when this character selects his talent, they choose one of their mental armaments that they know, and so he's customized it. He knows it backwards and forwards. And whenever he uses it to override mind forts, he can add an advantage to the results.
That's mental fortifications.
Well, mental fortification. I shortened it to mental forts, but yeah, fortifications is the official term.
Right.
And then if they choose a piece of mental fortification, mental fort or mind fortification, whenever someone intends to override it, they can add a threat to their result. Since it's more passive, mental fortification has to await someone else's hacking. So instead of advantage, would be a threat to the other person's mind hack.
So this is This is a passive talent, and it's not ranked.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. Once he's known it, he's modified it so that he can use it. When he does use it, he adds an advantage or a threat, depending on the construct.
Gotcha. Cool.
Okay.
Pretty good.
Next, I had the only other Tier 1 talent that we've done thus far, Psionic Prodigy. And that's a Tier 1 passive, not ranked. Not ranked, that's right. So you can only take it once. Psionics is now a career skill for your character. When your character chooses this talent, she must pick a single spell action, normally allowed by the Psionic skill, and she may only cast spells of that type. So, attack, or barrier, or healing, or so on and so forth. You're going to choose that when you take it. And you can only do that one type. And you can't take this multiple times to gain them all. And the other limiting factor, which is why I dropped it from a Tier 2 down to a Tier 1, is this. Note, this talent represents untapped natural potential, not training. Therefore, it does not make the associated knowledge skill, which is knowledge metaphysics, a career skill. So if you choose one of those actions that has a lot of that, say attack, that has a lot of things that are tied to your ranks in that, those ranks are going to come at a cost.
Right. So you can still get the knowledge metaphysics, but it's not a career skill, so you have to pay a little bit more.
Yeah, it's reflecting that you are taking extra effort to learn that knowledge.
Yeah, you've got raw talent, you're not trained, you're just I know this one thing.
Yep. And so that's why I had it at Tier 1. Now, I did think still it's right on the edge of Tier 1, Tier 2. Maybe with some playtest, it may add the limiter that you may only cast this one thing that you can cast once per encounter at the end of it. But wait and see.
Yeah. Yeah, or maybe it costs extra strain if it's once every round.
That could work. Instead of doing, you may use the spell, but instead of costing 2 strain to cast, it costs 3.
Yeah, because you're not trained to focus properly. You've never gone through the academy, the endless halls.
Right, and so those limiters are ones we could add later via playtest, and that's another thing that I wanted to mention, and that's why I kind of wanted to bring this one in first and down at Tier 1, and I brought it to the lower tier and talked about balancing, because playtest, see how it works. If it gets too powerful, then balance it. Kick on some of those costs, once per session, or once per encounter, or strain, or story point, so on and so forth.
Well, that's it. All the ones that we came up with out of whole cloth, they'll need to be play tested no matter what. The ones I converted, maybe not so much, unless
well, and
convert properly.
The next one that I did, the first to the Tier 2 talents, is one of those that I reskin. And then in Terranoth and in Shadow of the Beanstalk, you've got a lot of talents that sit right fat at Tier 2 that just add 2 skills to your career skills. And so I have some that are themed for our game. And this one, the first one I have, is Dimensional Traveler. It's Tier 2, passive, not ranked. And it says Knowledge Multiverse and Resilience are now career skills for your character.
Cool. Why did you pick Resilience for that?
Because you're jumping from world to world, and so you're going to be going to places that are harsh environments.
Cool.
And resilience is the way to express survival in those harsh environments without so much the not survival, but I guess the term is a resilience in those environments.
Right. How well your body, how well your body adapts to, let's say, another realm that has maybe harsh light. The other one is maybe a little heavy gravity, or
if you're realm jumping, it's going to have an effect on your body. So being able to be resilient and be hardy and resist that is a key thing. So.
Yeah. Even Core Book has a few of those kind of talents, like Adventurer or Militia, gives you a couple of skills as career skills.
Nice. You got the next one, bud.
All right. The next one is when I came up with psionics, even way back when Genesys came out, the first time I thought, psionics could be another kind of discipline other than arcane, divine, and primal. So I came up with this one psionics, that not all of the actions that a psionicist can do, he can do on others. He can only do certain things like augment, heal, and mask on himself. But this Mind Over Matter is a Tier 2 talent, passive and ranked, because you can take it multiple times to choose other magical actions. So when taking this talent, the Mind Mage selects one of the 3 actions that can only be used on himself, like I mentioned before, augment, heal, or mask. And then he can now use that action on others at the base range described in that action. So he can also increase the range as normal if that action would permit it. So let's say augment, I think, is engage range. So he could add the ranged benefit and go up to long range if he wants with the normal difficulty. And every time he picks this talent, he chooses another action. So you can choose it 3 times total and be able to use all of the psionic abilities at range.
Nice.
So not just on himself.
That's cool.
But it takes some extra training. I imagine a psionicist focusing on himself first. He can augment himself, he can heal himself, he can hide or conceal himself, but not others yet. He needs a bit more talent, more training before he can go further.
Cool. I like it.
Very nice. All right. Next, I added Recruit. So this one actually is cut and paste from the Star Wars Age of Rebellion sourcebook. And it involves being recruited into some sort of military organization. And it's a tier 2. It's passive. It's not ranked. And it just says that ranged heavy and survival are now career skills for your character.
There we go.
Cool. Simple.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Simple. Another one that I came up with, I reskinned again one of the hacking talents. I just called it Of Two Minds. Tier 2, passive again, ranked. No, not ranked. This time the Mentalist can have up to 2 mental armaments active at once, instead of just
because
one.
Normally you can only have one. Yeah.
Exactly. So now that's why Of Two Minds are almost like compartmentalizing his mind. Like, yeah, I'm multitasking. There you go.
Loved the name for that one.
Yeah. Even though it's not in
I love the
alphabetical
name
order,
for
though.
both of your tier 2 both of these tier 2 talents you got right here in this section. Sorry, you had something to say, Chris?
Yeah, it wasn't in alphabetical order, fuckers.
All right.
How ADHD of me. Let's keep them in alphabetical
So, then I did Think Tank. So tier 2, its activation is passive again, ranked no, and it's knowledge mentalism and mental discipline are now career skills for your character, and this represents knowing that mentalism exists and how it's used and being able to defend yourself, and it can be available to any career.
Cool.
There you go.
And that way you don't have to just be somebody that's works in that field, so to speak, to be a formidable force when being mind hacked.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right.
Next one, I bounced around with the name a couple of times, but I like the name for this one too. You're So Predictable. So
Nice.
tier 2, passive, no ranks. And when your character successfully traces another character, so it would be more on the defensive side maybe, another character during a mind hacking encounter, your character gains an additional trace. So you can try to pinpoint where he's coming from. It's like, yeah, I know where you're coming from. You do this usually and do that. And I think the other name I had is Know Your Mind, but I think I changed it for another talent.
I like that name. That was perfect. I
so
read it and I'm like,
You're so predictable. So there we
That's
go.
awesome.
all right, getting into tier 3.
That's it for our second tier 2. Tier 3, go ahead.
Oh, that's you.
Oh, that's right. That's one of mine. Sorry. Brain trap. It's a trap. It's a brain trap. Tier 3, and it does take an action, not ranked. This one gets a little bit more complex compared to the other talents. Once per session, your character may use this talent to make a hard discipline check. That's 3 difficulty.
Mental discipline.
Mental discipline, sorry.
Yep.
What did I say? Whatever. If they succeed once before the end of the encounter, you may spend a story point to force one character in the encounter to make a daunting vigilance check as an incidental. If they fail, they are staggered until the end of their next turn, plus an additional turn per 2 threat they generate. So yeah, you spring a brain trap on them if you're able to.
That's nasty.
That's nasty.
That's why the story point, because being staggered can
that's
be
once per session and a story point and a hard check involved. Great limit.
Yeah.
And then
good job putting it solidly at tier 3.
Yeah, and then the character, of course, the target has to make a vigilance check as well.
Right.
A daunting one. That's 4 difficulty.
Nice.
There you go.
That's pretty good.
And
Chris.
then Chris has one finally.
Yes, I have one here. Now, The one I have here is called Tavern Brawler Improved. But let me read the Tavern Brawler talent from Tier 1 Realms of Tiernoth that I'm kind of improving, that I'm creating an improved version of. So this is the regular Tavern Brawler. Tier 1, it's passive, it's not ranked. Your character adds an advantage to brawl checks and combat checks using improvised weapons. So the improved version of this is Tier 3. It's passive, it's not ranked, but your character must have purchased a Tavern Brawler talent to benefit from this talent. Your tavern brawling skills are becoming as sharp as a broken whiskey bottle. Your character now adds a success and 2 advantage to brawl checks and combat checks using improvised weapons. All improvised weapons of medium or large size gain a knockdown quality and have a critical rating of 4. I thought I was going to say, and all improvised weapons have a critical rating of 4. What do you think? Or just the 2, the medium and large? Because
I like that.
Because the medium size would be breaking a chair over somebody, right? And then, and then your large would be just picking up that frickin' table and bashing somebody with it. So there's your improved version of the
bringing the chandelier down on someone's head.
There you go. Exactly. All right.
That's Tier 3.
That is Tier 3, yeah.
Tier 4, Stefan, kick it off.
Yes. Burn through. Tier 4, activation, incidental, as an action. No ranks. So it's one of those mind hacking things. After making a successful mental intrusion check to defeat a mental defense, your character may suffer 3 strain to use this talent. If they do, they may perform a second mental intrusion action on the same maze as an incidental.
Very nice.
So, yeah, they can try to just burn through some of their own strains, like, let's push through, finally defeat this freaking wall and go through.
Nice.
And then we have another one by Chris again.
Yes, so...
I wonder which one it'll be.
It is going to be the supreme version of Tavern Brawler. It's a passive.
I sense a theme.
Yeah, passive. It's not ranked, but you must have purchased the improved Tavern Brawler talent to benefit from this talent. You have become the paragon of tavern brawlers, hitting as hard as the trucks delivering crates of whiskey across the multiverse to the taverns and saloons that sing your praises. Exactly, there you go, just like that. Your character now adds the concussive item quality to all medium and large improvised weapons. Your character can spend 3 threat or a despair from the attacker's check to completely, sunder the improvised weapon they are wielding. But I think Tony, you made a comment on that. We should probably change that to completely destroy the improvised weapon they are wielding. Like, what I'm picturing here is somebody's going to try and bash you with like a chair, right? But you put your arm up and it just completely shatters. Right?
Yeah.
And
or a beer mug or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's just no effect.
Right. And that's normally an effect, and why this is a thing, is normally an effect that is on the realm of 2 despairs.
Yes.
So it's very rare. But in our last show with Scott Zumwalt, we had one show up. He rolled a double despair, and I completely destroyed his magical implement.
There you go.
So in this case, if that had been a brawl, 3 threat or a despair for that would have been money in the bank for a GM.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, the one when I was thinking of this one, it's going to be fairly situational. Improvised weapons. Are you always going to have an improvised weapon around? No, not so much.
Maybe not.
And the reason why I made it, some of you out there are thinking, well, gosh, that's Tier 4. It doesn't seem that powerful. But if anybody has used a concussive item quality against your GM's bad guys, like I did to Tony's sometimes, Get stun lock.
I got a solution in the works. Don't you worry.
I know. Oh, yes. Hey, let's not spoil it. A little foreshadowing there. But anyways, so that's what I got for that one. So
Tier 5. Stefan, you have the lonely Tier 5 talent.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's the one that I had put on the other talent earlier. You're so predictable. I changed it to this one. And I think I like it this one better. I know your mind. Except Tier 5, it does take an action, not ranked, of course. So, once per session, the character can make an average knowledge mentalism check during a mental encounter. If he succeeds, the character knows the names, strengths, and other qualities of all mind forts, active or dormant, in one maze that he's currently accessing, as well as all other characters, either mentalists or chaperones, those are hackers or psysops, that are currently accessing the maze. Then he can spend 3 advantage or triumph on his check, whether or not he succeeded, to add successes to all mental intrusion checks involving that particular maze for the remainder of the encounter. So he's analyzed practically the lay of the land kind of thing.
Very nice.
Which makes it a little easier for him.
Yeah, I like that.
That's
good
cool.
job, by the way.
Now, is that one... So let me ask you a question here. So this last part, you could spend 3 advantage or a triumph to add 1 success. Is that what it is? 1 success to all mental intrusion checks?
Yep. Yeah, no matter what his rolls are, he at least adds an extra success.
I'm wondering if we want to... Do we want to link that to a ranks in a knowledge skill instead? Or is just a... I don't know, for some reason the 1 success...
I think 1 is enough. I mean, knowing 5? All of the fortifications.
Oh, yeah, I suppose so. Yeah,
fortifications, people who are accessing it. There's 3 chaperones. Like, whoa, okay, there's 3 chaperones. This must be a powerful mind that needs to be protected.
Oh, you mean okay? So you would know. Okay, so let me get this right. So you make an average knowledge check.
Yeah.
To get all of that average. Wouldn't that be hard? Wouldn't you want to? Wouldn't that?
I could make it hard.
It is once per session. You're right. Yeah. So average. Okay, that works. So then, so you know the names, the strengths, and other qualities of all mental fortifications. So those would be equivalent to the ice, right? To the ice. Exactly. Okay. In one
sentries,
maze,
whatever names.
So in this maze, that is the. When we're talking maze, what are we talking? We're talking
that's the neural network. That's the person's mind.
Person's mind.
Yeah.
And then anybody else who's currently connected to that maze, that person's mind, you know their mental fortifications.
No,
just know them, that they're there.
Just know that they're there.
Okay.
They're accessing it, but you don't know.
Okay. Normally, you don't know that a chaperone is present until they begin tracing you.
Okay, yeah. So we might have to wordsmith that just a little bit, because that made me think that you know all of their mental fortifications as well as them that are connected.
Right. So
instead of just knowing that,
just change it to as well as the presence of all other characters.
Perfect. Yep. Yeah, I think I was just missing that one word for me. I tried to wrap my head around that. Okay, I got it now.
Yeah. Got it.
Sweet.
Oh, that's a good feedback. There you go.
Yeah. Well, that's why we're going over these, right?
Exactly. There you go. Presence of
all right.
Other characters.
Okay.
Not necessarily anything else.
Tony created a couple of these new ones.
Yeah. So
what you got, Tony?
These I'm going to put out there for anyone that has ever had an issue with your nemesis feeling anticlimactic in a Genesys game. If you say you have an ancient dragon that's sitting on a hill and some freaking uppity dwarf comes up and decides to one-shot him.
Hey, Killzak is not uppity. He was up in the air, but he was not uppity.
Or you have a player that has built his character around stun locking.
What? Who would do that?
Your adversaries, and only uses it on the major nemesis in an encounter. Yeah. So here's a couple of new adversary talents. I begin with Adversary Improved. Adversary Improved. Now, these are not ranked or not tiered because adversaries don't have tiers of talents.
Right.
No.
So Adversary Improved is passive, and it's not ranked. And it says you must be a nemesis and with at least 2 ranks in adversary. So there are prerequisites here. Now, when a player spends a story point, this adversary recovers 2 strain or a wound the GM chooses.
That's perfect.
There you go.
I love it. That's great, dude.
So reverse zealous fire.
Yep.
That's right. So, and that is a play, and I should probably put it in there, when a player targeting this adversary spends.
That makes sense because, that actually puts Zealous Fire to shame. To be honest,
but still,
because they
still
can
an
either get a
adversary.
wound or a strain back. Yeah, but they are still
Right.
an adversary. That's right. Keeps them up. Sweet.
Okay. So
Keeps them up,
when a
but
player targeting this adversary.
Yeah, because they could be spending a story point to activate another talent that doesn't target the
All right, if
the
spending
adversary
a story
or-
point to attack a minion nearby, and I just don't see that allowing this character to do that. But if someone's targeting them,
his friend.
whatever they're using, it's not, and it doesn't have to be a combat skill. It can be a magic skill. It can be a mental intrusion check. It doesn't matter. It's usable in a social encounter. It's usable in a mental hacking encounter. It's usable in combat encounter, and that is that when they're targeted, the adversary it gets to recover some strain or a wound. So, all right, next one, and this is my coup de grace, so to speak, to that stun locking character.
What?
Adversary Supreme. This is an incidental as an action. It is not ranked, and must be a nemesis with at least 3 ranks in adversary. So you don't have to have Adversary Improved to take this.
You don't?
And
Okay.
I did that on purpose because then you can, mix and match what your adversaries have as far as talents.
Okay.
With this, once per encounter, as an incidental, the GM may spend 2 story points to make an adversary immune to 1 weapon quality from the list below for a number of rounds equal to their ranks in the adversary talent. Those include Blast, Breach, Burn, Concussive, Disorient, Ensnare, Knockdown, and Stun.
Nice.
Cool. I'm going to submit something here. That you rename these. Instead of Improved and Supreme, we name them something like adversarial, like adversarial recovery for the first one, and an adversarial resilience for the second one. Because naming them Improved and Supreme assumes you would imply you need one for the other.
That's it. I was thinking just adversary recovery in brackets and adversary immunity. But I think I like yours as well. Recovering or resilience is nice as well.
Resilience is already the name of a skill.
Yeah.
And resilience isn't involved in this talent.
No, true.
So putting that in the name. But I do like, I do think I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe instead of Adversary Improved and Adversary Supreme, we have Adversary Improved and Adversary Superior. Because of in Star Wars, they have several of the talents that have that, where you have an improved version and you have a superior version, and they're not linked. You don't have to have one.
Right, but they don't have that in Genesys, though.
Correct.
So
that's why instead of Supreme, we go with Superior.
It's too
what
similar.
They have in.
Well, I think it's too similar, though. I think we might have to change it. I think so. I'm just suggesting that. I don't know. I think it's a little too confusing.
Okay.
Yeah, at least putting maybe in brackets for now recovery and immunity, respectively.
Something like that.
At least gives an idea.
I bow to you two, and we'll call it adversarial recovery.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one we will call adversarial immunity.
Yeah. Perfect. That sounds good.
Okay.
Sweet.
And the fact that, the GM has to spend 2 story points. So, I mean, those story points have to be on his side to start with.
And once per encounter. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Equal to their rank, so it'll be at least 3 rounds that they'll be immune to that quality.
Correct. Yeah. And that's and it's only one quality. It doesn't prevent the players from locking them down in other ways.
But I will say, but you know what? So I'm gonna warn GMs from using this. And no, seriously, let me finish.
No.
I'm gonna warn them from using the Supreme one, the one that we just called immunity, in Realms of Tyrnoth, because that will completely negate a heroic ability. Completely. Correct. And that's not cool. In my opinion. I mean, it really, I don't know. I mean, that would be a bummer. Totally. And
in all honesty, I'm still not 100% on these names. And the reason why I say that, and this is why, because I would see your adversarial recovery being one that you would put on an adversary that is end of a story, end of 2 or 3 sessions. Not every adversary is going to have it.
Right. It'll be your big bad evil guy. It'll be your BBG.
It's going to be a nemesis that you want to be a little beefier. That you want to last a little longer in combat. They're not gonna last longer, or last a little longer in that social encounter. It's just you want this one to be a little more challenging without having to rewrite their whole stat block. Just poof, pop this talent on them and good. No, adversarial immunity is going to be your campaign-ending boss fight.
Yep.
You don't want your campaign-ending boss to get hit with concussive in round 1 and then have players beat on them for 2 straight rounds and they can't do a damn thing.
Yeah. Who would do that? I know.
And that's even in the. I get that it's a heroic ability involved in Tyrnoth, and I would say, if you were going to use it in Tyrnoth, a campaign-ending boss fight. I mean, we're talking that last, like I did in my final Tyrnoth session with you guys in the Grognards, you had a big bad boss fight at the end. It wasn't decided what that big bad boss fight was going to be until the very last session.
Right.
Whether you were going to fight the one big bad or whether you were going to fight the other.
Mm-hmm.
But having that thing get concussed and then only able to just run away was a challenge for a GM.
Yep.
And if you have 2 players working in concert and one concusses and the other ensnares, I would say, be wary. This it will totally feel anticlimactic to you as a GM that you created this big bad, but your players did invest all their XP going down that path.
Yeah.
So be wary using it. If you do use it for that campaign ender. And
I still don't know about that though, Tony. That's tough because I'll tell you that would have been a bummer.
I would say, and here's what I would say. If the players use their tactics properly, which if you're playing with seasoned players, never would I let this talent remove a quality that the creature is already suffering from, or the nemesis is already suffering from. If they're hit with concussive and they're already concussed, they can't use this as an incidental to negate it.
No.
So
it would have to use it before there's a subject to.
Right. So, and I would maybe add that caveat that this would have to be used before. So you have to choose beforehand.
Yep.
What you're going to, and so you've got one character who has a breach weapon. You've got another character who's got a weapon that's concussive, and you've got a third character that's ensnaring. And what do you want your big bad to be immune to? You've got 3 choices there, and you have to choose before those players take that action, because once they take it, you're pooched. I would even add that caveat.
And that's
initially when
that's
I first
not
wrote it.
And I'm glad it's not an out of turn incidental either.
Yeah, when I first wrote it, it was only for 1 round. But then I decided, because it wasn't for Terranoff.
Right.
And that would be another limiter you could do totally if you wanted to use it in a Terranoff game. I could see doing it for 1 round.
I could see limiting it to 1 round in Terranoff. I think that would be great. But if you think about the heroic ability, because if everybody hasn't guessed it, I had a concussive weapon. It became concussive when I activated my heroic ability. I had it extended, which extends it for 3 rounds.
Right.
And this would absolutely negate that ability, which is kind of a bummer. Which is all.
Is that the signature weapon?
That's the signature weapon, heroic ability. Okay. Yeah. But limiting it for 1 round, meaning if you had already done the immunity on it, and I tried to hit you with it, and did the concussive, crap! All right, now I got to hit you again next round, and it's not. I've used that before, and I think that was probably either that time, maybe another time, one other time before that. Have I even hit with the frickin' concussive and was able to activate it? Normally, I wasn't even activating it.
There was a couple of times in the campaign where you were able to use the ability, but not able to activate the concussive.
Exactly. So that's not even a guarantee.
It's very situational.
But
maybe limiting it to 1 round.
Yeah. In Terranoff.
Also, not letting it remove an effect that already exists.
That's a good limiter.
Those are great ways to limit this if you want to use it in other settings.
Yeah.
But in this setting, this is to represent those really big bad, and this is my thought, we have this big bad enemy out there that is supposed to be this megaversal monstrous creature that has this legion of minions that we've already kind of alluded to in a couple of our shows. And this is more of the realm of her and her major lieutenants.
Right. Yeah. This is really cool, though. This is really cool talents. These are. I really like them.
What if I have another idea about the immunity thing as opposed to the concussive? Let's say, for example, in signature weapon. What if in the example we're using, concussive lasts a number of ranks equal to whatever the concussive rank is. If it's concussive 4, for example, what if for 2 story points the adversary can still make himself immune and reduce the concussive, let's say, duration by his ranks down to a minimum of 1?
No, it's not a concussive 4 thing. I don't. No, you're equal to your ranks in the adversary talent. That's how long it lasts.
No, he's talking about
for the immunity. For the immunity, the immunity would last 3 rounds. But a lot of these effects also have a rating, like concussive or ensnare.
Does it? Does concussive?
Yeah, concussive. If hit by the target is staggered for rounds equal to the rank.
Oh, okay.
Equal to the weapon's concussive rating.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So if you have concussive 4 and the adversary has
I see.
ranks 3, you'll be a minimum of 1 rank. He'd still be affected, but not for 4 rounds, only 1 round. Would that be a one way around it, or one way to work it?
Yeah. Except for it covers then that kind of messes with breach. It messes with blast. It messes with knockdown, which don't have those.
Right.
That's why I didn't give it that. And that way, you can also, because making something immune to breach is, okay, their soak is going to work for a few rounds, and nobody's going to breach that soak. And for a big, huge monster, that's awesome that you could do that with. Blast, another thing. You've got. Say a hive mind nemesis that's a bunch of little creatures. That is a hive mind. It's one nemesis, but its body is a bunch of little creatures.
Yeah.
In this setting, we're going to have that, and that being able to be immune to burn or breach, blast, for a couple of rounds.
That's for 3 rounds. It's for 3 rounds. At a minimum, it's going to be for 3 rounds. You know what? I even...
Now that you're mentioning it, at a minimum 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Let's just make it 1 round.
No, we can make it... Dude, just make it half your ranks in the adversary talent, rounded down. That way, if you have 4 ranks in adversary, it's for 2 rounds. Which is huge. Makes you a big...
Rounds equal to half their ranks rounded down. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm looking at some of the equalities. Like even Breach, ignore 1 vehicle armor per rank, or ignore 10 silk.
Because I was just... I mean, we could totally playtest this. Because I would love to do those fights I would love to play that fight at the end, right? Again, and just see how this works. Because when I'm thinking... because I'll tell you, those fights, they don't last very long. You got a big bad guy, you got a bunch of... characters there. Either one side's going to win or the other one is going to win, right? And with being because being immune to breach for 3 rounds, it won't be able to really damage him. But then again, that puts it on the players. They got to be creative now. How you were creative. Exactly, and how you were creative, just moving the bad guy around, trying to be creative with that. It puts it on us as players, or the players here, to be more creative, to stay out of. Yeah,
I really don't want every fight with a character with a concussive weapon to turn into the Benny Hill theme. That's what I'm, because that's what you do as a GM when you have a character with a concussive weapon. Every major fight, every time they hit. Oh, it's concussed. It's staggered. Great. Now he's just kind of and just run around
until he recovers from that. That's why I thought maybe the adversary ranks would reduce the number of rounds of concussive or burn or blast.
Well, all right. But, I think we've beat this horse to death. So.
Yes. And the dragon, and the big bad guy, and the players to death, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I love these conversations. This is great. Yeah. See, this is the stuff we talk about, everybody. This is how our brainstorming goes.
So we'll play test this. We'll see how it works. We may have further limiters for you, but when we have our final document, you'll see the final works. But those 2, I was pretty proud of them. I thought you guys would like them.
No, those are great, dude. These are great. These are really great.
No, the one for recovery is nice and simple, but it's the other one that maybe needs more playtesting. All right.
So, on to our next segment then.
All right, welcome to our next segment of the show called On The Slab. In this segment of the show, Tony chooses 1 adversary from one of the books, and we dissect it a little bit by bit, and we'll see how we can adapt it to different settings. So what's on the slab today, Tony?
Well, on the slab, or the shop table, so to speak, we have the combat drone from page 233 of Shadow of the Beanstalk. This is a minion. Combat drones usually deploy defensively and watch infantry units' flanks or forward as scouts. Though not well armed or armored, they are agile and more disposable than a human soldier. And in groups, they can be lethal.
Because they're minion. So, they're minion group then.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
All right, so what they do, they have no brawn, they have no intellect, no cunning, no willpower, presence. Those are all 1. But they have tree agility.
Yep.
With a little bit of armor on them, they're going to have a soak of 3 to add on to that armor 2, brawn 1. So soak 3. Wound threshold is 5 per minion in the group. So not bad.
No.
Range defense of 2.
Ooh, that doesn't suck.
Yeah, some sloped armor.
Melee defense, not so much.
No.
Group skills, that means that for every minion in the group, you're going to upgrade these skills 1 time for each minion beyond the first. And that is going to be perception, range, and ranged light.
Makes sense.
They have no talents, and they have the following abilities. Flyer, They can fly. See the flying sidebar on page 100 of the Genesys Core Rulebook. They have Focus Fire. When making a combat check, add an advantage to the results for every other character in this minion group. Mechanical does not need to eat, breathe, or drink, and can survive in a vacuum underwater, and is immune to poisons and toxins. Silhouette 0. And then Telepresence can operate independently or can be controlled directly by an operator with a wireless link. If being controlled, the combat drone counts as having ranks in any skill equal to the controller's ranks in that skill. They're equipped with a light Fletcher. That's a pistol type. It's a ranged light weapon, does 4 damage, critical 2, range medium, and has pierce 2.
I got a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Back to Focus Fire real quick.
Sure.
When you're calculating a number of advantage, okay, it says add an advantage to the results for every other character in a minion group. So say you have 4.
Yeah.
Yep.
How many do you add? 3?
2.
2.
Every other
Every
character.
other. So if you have 3, just 1?
Yep.
Okay. Got it.
Well, if it's every other after the first, right?
See?
Yeah,
that's
what
why
it
I was
is.
asking.
That's what it is.
Is it every other character in
It
a minion?
is every other than beyond the first. Yes.
Yeah,
So
a bit like
if you have a mini
skills.
group of 4, it's
4.
going to be 3 advantage.
Got it. Okay,
Right.
yeah, that was what I was wondering. Because I was taking it either way, right? I wasn't sure.
I was just trying to confuse you.
You
I was
already
I would have
confused.
used it like, yeah, I was going to use it the same thing as skills. So,
Yep.
yeah, minion group of 4 has 3 ranks of ranged light.
Correct.
Yep.
So,
Okay, just
All right.
All right.
So these guys, pretty good as a ranged combatant. However, to skin them in other settings, you kind of have to drop the ranged combatant thing and add in some melee. Now, all you would have to do is just change the skill to whatever melee or brawl.
Yep.
Usually brawl for creatures with attacks.
yeah.
And the attack doesn't have to be any different. The attack can be 4 damage. The range would be engaged. Critical 2, pierce 2. That all fits.
yeah, it does.
You can.
But the key here, the key ability, I think, and you can drop and add mechanical as needed based on the ones that I've reskinned. The key one that you want to think about is that telepresence. Can operate independently or can be controlled. And that's what I kind of latched onto, that these can be controlled. So this would be a great way to reskin, say, a vampire-controlled swarm of bats.
No, that's cool.
Or magically controlled flock of birds. Or a room full of animated furniture.
You know what I was thinking about that one when you said animated furniture? Be our guest, be our guest.
You're thinking Beauty and the Beast. See,
Yeah,
I'm
so I
thinking
should-
Willow.
Willow? Well,
Yeah, the Braziers that are attacking in the final battle with the witch.
yeah.
I was thinking mimics, very small mimics.
yeah,
They're
dude.
just-
Or a hive of flying insects. Now, with the insects, you could have those be ones that have melee attacks, or you could have them be ones that have a ranged attack, some sort of barb that they shoot, or an
dark.
acid that they spit, or something like that.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. And the last one's kind of specific to our setting is psionic crystal constructs, or as I call them, strike shards.
Cool.
So, reskinning the combat drone for our setting, it's exactly the same. It's just a psionic crystal that hovers.
Nice.
And it shoots shards of crystal, or shoots rays of magical or mental
focus
force.
light, yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't
That psionic
doesn't
attack
have
in
to
them.
be super complicated.
Right.
No,
And it
even
fits
telepresence can stay as a psionic can control them at a distance, maybe.
Yeah. That does,
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. Oh, that's to select, dude.
Yeah.
That's pretty
I
cool.
was thinking, as a hive of flying insect, instead of having a swarm of squirrels, and they're throwing their nuts at you.
Yes. 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 Swarm of squirrels chucking nuts at you. Yes. Those are some painful nuts.
That's true. Or some fucking monk apes from another setting, from another gaming system that kicked our ass. My God. I had a high-level character that could take out a freaking walking god, but these little monk apes throwing these goddamn coconuts would just take us down. It was so great. It was great.
And that's throwing flaming feces.
Flaming feces piles. That's right.
There we go.
Either way, the key thing is whether you focus on ranged or melee, whether you focus on the mechanical or not mechanical, all that's important. These are silhouette zero minions that can be controlled.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, it's cool. Very cool, Tony.
Very nice.
All right.
Yeah, combat drones can be reskinned to almost anything.
Well, almost.
Almost.
Well, we have another show segment to get on to, shall we?
Yes, let's go. Very good, Tony. Thank you very much for the slab.
Welcome to Advantageous Threats. This is where we build, roll, narrate dice results on a simple skill check or 2 or 4 or whatever we decide for your entertainment, but mainly ours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've written a little scenario here. I am GMing Tales of the Epsilon Eclipse. The patrons, that's my 2 players here, Stefan and Chris, have traveled to a place called Jergy's Joint. It's a gambling saloon in the worst part of the wasteland of Amos. And that's one of the worlds that Chris created. In a remote settlement known as Blood Creek.
Nice.
They're here to execute a warrant for one Rannick Tagura, a retired thunderboxer, wanted by the order of the Axe and Saw for murdering one of their own.
Revenge!
Rannick has heard that the bounty hunters are in town, and he has just showed up at the saloon, ready for a fight.
Nice. As Stefan is getting out his dice.
Yeah, that's what that sound was.
Yeah. Yep.
So, this guy steps in, and first of all, he matches the picture on the document that you guys have. Rannick is a huge elephantar with these sharp cybernetic blades attached to the ends of his tusks. Ooh. And he's got big thunderboxer gloves on, which are concussive shock gloves.
Nice.
And then on his head, on the back of his head, is this big bulging metal piece of technology. It looks kind of like Lobot's cybernetic brain in Star Wars.
Right. Damn.
And when he steps in, that thing lights up, beep, 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 and 2 weird-looking skulls with these things attached to them, with strapped to them laser weapons strapped to their skulls. These floating things come around him, and he's got 2 of these drones that are like necromantic technology skulls with lasers in their mouths.
Mm-hmm. All right. Interesting.
Very.
So everyone roll vigilance.
No. Why can't we describe our characters? Let me roll my...
all right.
Let me read my flavor text, motherfucker.
There we go.
Come on, you bastard. I have some flavor text here.
Sorry. Let me start. Stefan, what are you playing?
All right.
Go ahead, Stefan. Go ahead.
All right. So as we're confronted by this elephantor, we've got 3 little balls that just roll down the hallway. The curved hallway rolls down, and the 3 little balls come in with little flickering lights once in a while, and they, one after the other, they unfold, and one jumps on the shoulders of the other one. I am Zip. I am Zap, and I am Zoom.
Awesome.
Nice.
These are the Zol Hakaim. We are travelers, i.e. explorers. So the Zol Hakaim are unique among the Zol. Instead of being just one creature, they're a mind-linked cluster of 3 smaller termite, in these guys' cases, like creatures, almost like firefly-like. And whenever they talk to each other, their part of their anatomy just glows a little bit, almost like Morse code.
Nice.
Nice.
Well done.
All right, and who else is in the bar that is one of my bounty hunters, Chris?
Well, what we have a Rhinotaur bouncer named Ludo Steelhorn. He's just come downstairs from his room at the saloon to get a drink. He shakes his head and lays a warrant on the bar, wondering what his next move is going to be, as the trail for Rannik Tagura has gone cold. The bartender fills his glass with whiskey and leaves the bottle for Ludo, as he hears the creaking of the saloon doors. And apparently, beep, 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 boop, 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 as his fucking drones come out of them, too. So, all right. So so now I'll roll vigilance.
Now we can roll vigilance.
Let's see. What's vigilance based on? That's Wizzle Power, right?
Whizzle power. Yeah.
Whizzle Power. I say W.I. I've been playing D&D the last few days, so willpower it is. Vigilance.
It's Whizzle power from now on.
All right, that's 2 yellows for me, buddy. And I have, look at that, 4 advantage. I need to finish my drink, so before we start this. So
three successes for me. Okay. I only had 2.
And the bad guy had 1 success, 2 advantage. So it's going to be 1 player, 1 bad guy, and the minions he will direct on his turn also. So they'll go in the same turn as him.
Cool.
Because he's controlling them.
Nice.
All right.
Must learn control.
So these are necro drones that he has here.
Why did it have to be necro drones? I don't know. Shut up.
All right. So
it's always necro drones. Go ahead. Zip, zip, zoom.
Zip, zap, zoom. Yes, they're known collectively as a zip, zap, zoom.
3Z.
So, yep.
Sorry, 3Z.
3Z. 3Z. All right, so they will try, since they're trying to capture this Rannik, to surround them. And so you'll move to surround them. Like, those tusks will look awesome above our mantelpiece. So there we go. He takes a strain to use his parkour to move almost anywhere within short range as they tumble and jump and vault around Rannik, and will use their electro net rods to try and snare him and capture him.
Holy crud.
So there we go.
That's what you get when you get players making up shit.
Yep. That's it.
Yeah, you're allowed to make your own gear. I'm fucked.
Yeah. That's it. So electro net rods, these are basically almost like rifles, customized rifles kind of thing. Medium range, they do mostly stun damage, and they can have the ensnare quality and stun damage. So here we go. So I've got 3 yellow, 1 green as base skill. He'll take 2 strain and aim.
Okay.
Getting a boost die. And base difficulty 2 purple at the very least. For
this guy has adversary 2.
Of course. So there we go. Upgrade that to 2 red. Does he have any defense?
He has no defense.
All right. So
Don't forget
let's
your quick
try.
strike.
As the picture I put into the Skype for you guys
yes, he does have
indicates,
quick
he ain't
strike.
wearing no armor. He's got a loincloth on. That's about it.
That's basically that's what Ludo's wearing too. So
Yeah, that's it. All right. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, I did add quick quick strike as one of his talents, so he gets another boost die since the bad guy hasn't acted yet.
Excellent.
All right.
You didn't even have to ask for it.
Nope. Wonder if I should act on the... No, it's only against immobilized targets, so I have to immobilize him first. Nah, no problem. Let's go.
Okay.
There we go.
Make sure to add an advantage. Make sure to add one more to it for your tactical focus talent there.
Oh, yes. Tactical focus. I'll just take a boost die and put that on the advantage side already. So I am left with 2 successes and 4 advantage. Nice. The red dice didn't come up like only some threat, which was cancelled out. So damage is stun damage of 6, 7, sorry.
Okay, so he's going that up. Soak applies to stun damage.
Does soak applies? Does.
So he has a soak of 6.
Yeah, and then and I also have 4 advantage. I can take 2 advantage to activate ensnare.
Yep. So
that'll be ensnare for 3 rounds. And take the other 2 advantage and suffer stun 3.
Okay. So he's going to take an additional 3 strain. So he was at 12 strain to start. He took 1 from you getting past his soak, and then 3 more from you activating the stun quality.
That's it.
For a total of 4. Nice. And he is ensnared for 2 rounds, you say, correct?
Yes, 3 rounds. So this looks like, zip, zap, and zoom. Move around, jump over some patrons and under a table on his friend's Ludo's head, and activates all of their electro rods, and there's a net between the 3 of them as they're trying to keep him immobilized.
Nice.
Got it.
We can't hold him too long. Come on, Ludo. Yeah,
hey,
come on.
Hey, let me finish my drink first.
So he issues a command as an incidental to the drones, and the drones are going to immediately open fire with their laser pistols, with their mouth lasers, on the bugs. So the drones, there's only 2 of them. So as a minion group, they have an agility of 3 and upgraded once for the extra minion. So 3 yellow. They're at short range. 2 green, 1 yellow. They're at short range. Do you have any range defense? Bug boy.
They do. No, but they are small. They're still with zeros, but I don't think that matters in this case.
So are these guys.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So right now, aiming specifically at your character, but because you're split up, the wound threshold is... So I'm going to say we're aiming at Zap.
Yeah. They sort of share a certain amount of strain and wound, but yeah.
Okay. So they're going to take their maneuver to aim, because they don't have to go anywhere. And I'll spend that GM story point that I have sitting there, because...
why not?
Trying to free the boss.
That's right, because stuffing things.
All right.
Yes.
So I only had a single failure on my purple die. That cancels out one of my successes, leaving me with 2 successes, 3 advantage. Ooh. So Zap is going to take 6 damage, pierce 2.
Oh no! All right. So just put a little pen and paper here. So 6. He's got soak 3 because all Zol have at least a tough exoskeleton of +1. So he only suffers 3.
Okay. And then for the 3 advantage, this has a crit rating of 4, does it not? It does. So for 3 advantage, we're going to knock Zap prone.
Oh!
Just kind of knocks him back.
Ow, ow,
Skitters across the floor and into the bar. All right. Ludo.
All right. Ludo, as an incidental, finishes his drink. All right.
Slams the drink down.
And he turns around and goes, and then he pushes his foot off the bar and just recklessly charges into this guy that's just standing between him and the doorway, and just gonna charge ferociously and recklessly.
Yeah,
So
I see what you're doing here.
You do see what I'm doing.
Ferocious
You see
charge,
the-
reckless
Leading
charge.
with his horn. All right, so I need to add.
You see the familiar netting around his legs and lower body.
Yeah.
That's it. Zabzoom have.
So I get some stuff here and things, and I gotta add all this shit up. And I gotta remember what the hell I'm doing. All right.
Oh,
I'm adding a lot of successes to this, I think. Yeah. So we're just going to roll it. Okay, so we're going to do 2 for the difficulty. He's charging. He's going to aim with his horn as he goes, right? I'm going to spend a story point, if I have one, to upgrade this check.
You guys have 3.
Because it is what it is.
Okay, so he's going to use his adversarial recovery to immediately recover 2 strain.
Perfect.
As you see, like, it's coursing, all that energy is coursing through him, but you see the thing that's attached to his head has kind of pipes coming out of the back of it going into his back, and they're pumping some sort of weird drugs into his body.
Nice. I like it. All right. So, I'm not using an improvised weapon. Just myself. All right, so I'm gonna be adding some things. I'm gonna be adding successes to this. So, hang on, let's go. Okay, so ferocious charge adds 2 damage and knockdown to the attack. Reckless charge adds 2 successes, 2 threat to the attack. Improved tavern brawler adds 1 success, 2 advantage. So that'll be a net 3 successes I'm adding to this check. Because that negates the reckless charge. And I added the 2 advantage to improve tavern brawler for a reason. To get rid of this reckless charge negative. So a little bit of synergy there, anyways.
I see it. And at the end, you add 2 damage also.
And I'll be adding 2 damage on top of this. He is not a rival or a minion, correct?
No, he is a nemesis with adversary 2.
So then the takedown talent will not apply here. But it doesn't matter. All right, so hang on a minute.
Do you have the red dice in for the
Nope, I don't.
adversary 2?
That was what I was going to do. Adversary 2. And did you say, so does he have any melee defense?
He does have a melee defense of 1.
1, okay. Do you want to do anything to the pool?
I did not have any story points to start.
Okay, then here we go. So 3 yellow, a green, a blue, a black, and 2 red.
Yep.
Here we go. As we're charging.
Do it.
There we go. All right, so that cancels.
Steam comes out of your nostril.
Yeah, exactly. We will cancel.
Maybe that was fire whiskey you were drinking.
Yep. All right. So we're going to have 4 net successes and 1 advantage. So I won't be able to knock him down. I don't think. Does knockdown, it only takes 1, doesn't it?
Knockdown only takes 1.
All right. Yeah. So we're basically tackling this fucker. We're just knocking him down. So we have 4 successes.
How much damage is this?
4 successes. That would be add 6 damage to his horn attack, which is 5, 11.
Plus, ouch.
Yep. And then
he soaks 6 of that, takes 5.
Takes 5. Yep. And we go down in a heap. So I just knock him down on his ass.
Nice.
There we go.
All right. Round 2. If you guys don't get him now, his posse's going to arrive from outside, and it's going to be...
You want to go again, Chris? Knock him out.
You're on top of him.
I'm on top of him. Yeah, so I'll just try and knock him out. You know what? Actually, so what I did, so this is it. So I've got a so I basically just run into him, boosh, and I knock him down. So he's prone. I take the table that's standing right next to the door and just pick it up and just slam it right on his face.
Okay.
How's that sound?
So that's going to be a large improvised object.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And improvised weapons can be found somewhere in the core rulebook.
I should have had that right.
They would be on page 109. 9er of the core rulebook. I had them bookmarked for this.
Yeah,
a large one is going to do damage equal to your brawn +3. It's going to have a crit of 5, but your talent is going to reduce that.
To 4.
Correct?
Yep, it reduces it to 4. Okay. And he's going to have the concussive quality with this too.
All right,
because he's a supreme tavern brawler.
There we go.
So,
all right.
It's basically the same check, but I haven't upgraded yet. I haven't spent a story point, and I'm not going to.
Okay.
Would you like to?
I am.
You are? Okay.
Because this guy really does not want to be captured.
That's good.
So toss another purple in there.
I sure did.
All right.
Okay. So we're just gonna smash him.
He is prone, actually.
One more blue.
Prone, and you are standing above him. So add in a boost.
A boost die. That's right. Okay. Cool. So 2 yellow, 2 blue, 2 green, 2 red, a purple, and a black.
Woohoo! Rainbow pool.
Yes, very much so. Here we go. So I'm not going to be getting the ferocious charge off of this, or reckless charge, but I will still be adding 1 success and 2 advantage to this for being an improved tavern brawler. Alrighty then. That cancels that. Alright, so we're left with 5 successes because of that, and 4 advantage. So we are going to do how many damage did I say? Or I did.
It's brawn +3 is what 5. It normally does, and you had 5 successes.
Yep. So brawn is 3 is 4.
7
so 7 plus 5 is 12. Yep.
So he's going to take 6 more.
6 more.
So he's at 11 of 18 wounds.
All right. And then I will I'll concuss him. But but to be honest with you, I did not think of I didn't put a concussive, I didn't give it a rating.
So
and the
it's
talent.
Concussive 1 then.
Well, for the talent, what do you does that seem reasonable? Just 1, or would it be linked on something?
It's an improvised weapon.
Yeah, so concussive 1, that works. So the table just smashes, just smashes them. And then for the 2 advantage, I'd like to get a view of, you know what? If I could I? Yeah, I'd like to kind of get the situation of like outside. If you said he had guys backing him up, can I see what might be coming?
Well, there's just a posse outside of ne'er-do-wells and thugs headed this way.
Ah, nice. All right.
All right. Well, I completely forgot his action last turn because he used his maneuver to do the combat drones. But now he doesn't have one this turn. Just saying. So I'd say his action, he cashed it in to call in backup.
Got it.
All right. So
fair enough.
Is he going to stand maybe?
So he's staggered and ensnared. So he's not moving. He's stun locked. He is done. So go ahead, Stefan. Oh wait, the drones.
The drones.
You can still so they're going to go ahead and blast Zip this time.
Right.
And at short range. And they're going to aim also. So I'm looking at 2 green, a yellow.
I will flip a story
blue.
Point.
Purple. You're going to flip?
Flip a story point because Zip probably was able to get a bit of cover.
Okay.
Some stools and stuff between him and when he moved last time.
Cool.
Gotcha. All right. I am not flipping a story point for this because maybe he wants to be captured. All right. So the red die was a blank, buddy, but so was my yellow die. So
he's got a good lawyer.
So this time I had a 2 success, 4 advantage.
Ooh.
So they will be critting Zip. With their, so that's grand total of 6 damage, pierce 2, with a critical. And the critical is going to be...
So that's 4.
69. Ooh, I win. I rolled...
my favorite number.
Scattered Senses. Average difficulty, severity crit. Scattered Senses. The target removes all blue dice from skill checks until its critical is healed. Couldn't do it to a better player.
I can't have boost dice. No. And it's the 69 talent. Understood. For Stefan.
69 crit, yes.
Yep.
Wow.
All right.
It's great.
Your shot, Bug Boy.
Boys. With a Z.
Boy.
With a Z.
Yes. That's okay. So Zip, Zap, and Zoom will try to reactivate, their electro rods again. Another shot at him. Take him down.
All right, he's prone. They're at short range if they want to move into engaged range so that they can get the boost die. Oh, never mind. You don't get it.
No, they'll stay at the short range. Nah.
What, do you want to aim to get the boost die? Oh, you can't. No.
Neener.
No, but as a maneuver, I could still, if this combat would last a little longer, use his easy prey to suffer 3 strain and add 2 boost dice to allies within short range.
There you go.
Awesome. Thank you.
Against targets that are immobilized. So there.
Ooh.
Very nice.
There you go. So he still has a series. So 2 reds. No boost.
I have a story point. Upgrade.
Yeah, well, I still have a story point on my end, so I'm going to upgrade too.
Awesome.
And which means 4 yellows instead. Yeah. Okay. So 4 yellows, 2 reds, and a purple.
What are you doing?
Shooting him again. So more multiple shots. Oh yeah, multiple snare. Oh yeah. There we go.
Leave the Stefan to use the rods in this game.
Yes. Oh, and we have a despair though.
Yay!
I know I would do.
All right, so these I'm left with, unfortunately, no successes. Yeah. 2 advantage and a despair.
Okay.
So I don't hit him with the electro rods, but I could still stun him for 3 damage. 3 more damage.
3 more. So he's going to take 3 more strain for a total of 5 strain on top of his 12.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
As the little wires go, all over the place, and they don't hit, but one of them still manages to graze one of his metal blades on his tusk and send a little shock there.
So he's thrashing, and he's hit with this table.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And thrashing some more, and all of a sudden you hear the floor gives out, and he falls into the basement.
Awesome.
As part of the despair?
That's your despair, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Along with Ludo?
Now he's stunned. He's still stunned and immobilized, but now he's stunned and immobilized in a dark basement.
Yep.
Yeah.
With a bunch of kegs of beer for cover.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And his reinforcements are arriving.
Nice.
Yeah.
Perhaps he'll live to fight another day. We don't know.
Perhaps we will see.
Cliffhanger. Awesome.
Excellent job, guys.
That's cool.
And this time I tried to read my dice.
Yeah, that was great.
And this time I tried to read my dice a little faster.
You did well, Stefan.
You did a phenomenal job. Don't let Chris pick on you about it.
Tony and I didn't have to have our own little monologue while you were.
No.
While you were.
I only had 1 glass of whiskey.
Well, that's good. I have an Epsilon Eclipse, by the way.
Oh, I thought that was an Epsilon sour.
Sorry, an Epsilon sour. Yep, Fireball and sour mix. Boom. All right.
Roger that. All right, so that's Advantageous Threats.
That was fun, dude.
Shall we stop torturing our listeners and go home?
Yeah, let's do that.
I guess.
All right.
All right. Thank you for joining us on the show. This is just a little outro. I just want to do a little quick shout out to our fellows on the Nerds International Network. And this time I want to focus on our guys over over the pond, 3T RPG Podcast. We've got Harrison and Nick, who do all kinds of different role-playing games and stuff. They're back at it as well. And so, yeah, if you want to if you have some time, listen to their podcast. They go all out on their stuff. If you want something silly and not safe for work, go ahead and listen to them.
They also do some live play, or not live plays, actual plays.
Yes, that's right.
They do DCC actual plays right now. They've been doing a Cyberpunk Dirt Boys actual play, and that's been interesting. And they also had one that they did a while back that was a DCC fantasy campaign. And so
cool.
They have
we go.
A lot of fun over there, those guys.
Oh yeah,
awesome.
Very irreverent, very funny, very British humor.
Well,
anything else, Chris?
Oh well, what we have coming up next on our next show, I will be GMing Stefan, Tony, and I believe Jamie's going to join us for this, right?
If he can, if not, we'll probably get another guest player.
We'll grab somebody else, and I'm going to create a short little 3-hour adventure for our actual play in the Inquisition setting done by Guillaume Tardif, and. Yeah, going to be doing it.
Yes, which is a dark kind of fantasy realm, or medieval kind of
basically like the witch hunting Inquisition, Spanish Inquisition setting and such. Which I'm reading his setting. I'm actually learning a lot about like the hierarchies of like baronies and how that whole hierarchy of the nobles and such. So it's kind of cool.
Feudal system.
Yeah. The feudal system. Yep. Pretty cool.
All right. Well, if you want to reach out to us, tell us we're horrible at what we do, tell us we're great, that you love us, or just say hi. You can email us at findingthenarrativepodcast@gmail.com. You can send questions, too, if you have those. You can also contact us, myself and Stefan, on Facebook, at Finding the Narrative. We're also the Nerds International community and us. We're all over MeWe. And we have a Twitter presence at FTN_. Stefan monitors that like a hawk. And,
FTN _Genesis, by the way.
Is that what I said?
You didn't finish it.
No. You said FTN_Stefan monitors that.
Sorry. FTN _Genesis. My bad.
It's okay.
I'm getting tired, boys.
Yep.
All right. So this is Tony saying, let's tell a story. Spend some story points.
And this is Stefan saying, dare to ask for those boost dice, even if sometimes your character can't roll them.
And remember the rule of cool and fucking with your GM, stun locking his fucking bad guys.
There we go.
And just have fun while doing it. All right. Good night, everybody.
See ya.
Good night.
Finding the Narrative, a Genesys RPG podcast, is not affiliated with or endorsed by any companies mentioned on this show. Any of the products mentioned on our show or appear on our website are the property and copyright of their respected owners. All items are used under fair use and educational and review purposes. All other items are the intellectual property of Finding the Narrative, a Genesys RPG podcast. Copyright 2020, all rights reserved.